Everyone, it's Maurice and I'm back with a quick chat. And today we're going to be discussing Married to Medicine. So I was scrolling through the algorithm like everyone else does on a Sunday. It snowed here in Charleston, where I'm from. And a tweet caught my eye. It was a tweet about the Married to Medicine ladies. And I'm going to read it and I'm also going to post it right here somewhere. And so let me get my Samsung. So it says, anyone ever notice how Bravo treats the Married to Medicine ladies like the redheaded stepchildren? Why don't they have any spinoffs? Well, they do. Y'all just didn't watch it. We're just going to be honest about it. I love reality TV. Reality TV is one of my favorite things. It's something that I watch to escape. But their very first spinoff, I don't know the year, but I guess have someone put it here, was in Houston. It was very boring. They did not get a reunion. They didn't get promo. They had another city that was in LA that actually was good, but it didn't hold up to the Atlanta main city. So that was it. They lasted for 2 seasons, and those women on the LA actually did get invited to Watch What Happens Live. They made a few appearances on Watch What Happens Live, but I think it didn't go any further than that. They didn't get a reunion special either. They had a planned spinoff for Married to Medicine DC that got canceled. The pilot didn't go through. And then maybe a year or two ago, they had another city that was planned that was supposed to be in Miami. And Toya actually knew a lot of the people who were supposed to be on there. She tweeted about it, and she was also trying to get some casting going on out there in Miami. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit because threw my little 2 cents in there. I say, well, Bravo didn't do their job at promoting those shows, like how they would do Southern Charm, or how they would do, at the time, what's the name of that show? The Shahs of Sunset. I think that's the name of that show when it was out. They got a reunion. They got invited to Watch What Happens Live. They got invited to other things, like those other shows. They got invited to all of these other things, but the ladies from Married to Medicine, they did not get invited to all of these places. Even so, the people there was this show that came out years ago. I was still in high school when it came out. It was called Blood, Sweat, and Heels. It was a good show. They didn't get promoted like the other shows. Married to Medicine, in their first 2 seasons, they didn't really get promoted like that. It's just, Married to Medicine, when it first came out, was literally like, it was almost like the Houses of Atlanta, if we're being honest. Like when the Houses of Atlanta was off and Married to Medicine was on, people would flock and watch that show because they reminded them so much of the Housewives of Atlanta and that golden age of reality TV. And in my opinion, I kind of say that Married to Medicine Atlanta is basically the Housewives. There have been times where Married to Medicine had more going on than the Housewives itself, and that's just the honest truth. I love both shows, but Married to Medicine has outlasted so many of these other shows that came out. They outlasted Blood, Sweat, and Heels. They outlasted Ladies of Long Island, I think is that show. They outlasted Ladies of London, and it's another show that they had, Girlfriends in Paris. I think there was a show called Girlfriends in Paris that was based there. They outlasted Thicker Than Water, which had the Tinker family, and they just outlasted a lot of those shows. Not Blood, Sweat, and Heels, child. Married to Medicine is that, like, they are those girls. Just a few weeks ago, their ratings were higher than the Real Housewives of Potomac and the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And if I'm not mistaken, the rebooted series of Vanderpump Rules, if I'm not mistaken, I think their ratings were higher than all of those shows. And the Housewives is flagship shows for Bravo. Bravo put more money into promoting those shows than they do any other show. Married to Medicine outlasted the Real Housewives of Dallas and Dubai. And those are flagship shows. The Real Housewives of Dallas. I think it was Dallas. It was Dallas. It was Dallas. Is a flagship show because the Housewives are the anchor shows, and these other shows are shows that they have around. And Married to Medicine Atlanta has been there. Now, I do feel like Bravo could do some type of due diligence, like they can do something to promote Married to Medicine more. I do feel like Married to Medicine should have other cities. I do feel like they were on to something with the one in LA. I felt like the one in Houston could have used a little bit of a cash shakeup because they were boring to me. Those girls in Atlanta, I don't think that they knew those women in Houston, but they promoted that show as much as they could. I remember uh, back when I was on Facebook, they would put the banners of Married to Medicine LA in Houston because they were excited that they were getting another city. And even down to what's that, 2024 was when Toya was promoting and campaigning for Miami to come out, which I was kind of excited. I'm like, there's a lot of plastic surgeons out there. There's like a lot of there's a like a medical scene out there could be bigger than what it is, and it's just for me it is unfortunate that they decide not to go forward with other cities when it comes to Married to Medicine, but they will expand Below Deck. I'm not saying that Below Deck does not get the ratings because they do. There has been times where Below Deck has been the number one rated Bravo show for that year. Let that sink in. Let's just let that sink in. But I feel like Bravo could put more money into Married to Medicine. However, Married to Medicine has had two failed spinoffs and two failed pilots. And actually, I think her name is Alicia. She was on one of the seasons of Married to Medicine Atlanta. She was actually supposed to be on Married to Medicine DC, and NECA from the Real Housewives of Potomac was actually approached by the producers of Married to Medicine to be on Married to Medicine DC as well. And I wonder why that didn't fall through because the medical scene up there is kind of big, and I don't think that like a lot of these people have to be like full on doctors because that right there has been like one of the biggest things. The creator of the show, Mariah Hug, always she said that she always campaigned for them to bring in nurses because they are also in the medical field. Now, somebody also did say why the reason why the show isn't getting any other spin-offs is because of how the network treated the creator Mariah, and I'll leave that comment right here. And I kind of agree. And if you don't do right by the creator, you will. I mean, we could just put it out there like that. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I do feel like it's time for Mariah to come back. I feel like Mariah will fit in with this cast. But if you had to take somebody out, who would you put in? I don't know because they often do bring in. I don't really care for Contessa, but that's just me. I feel like Contessa is bringing something this season. But I would take Contessa off and bring in Mariah, in my honest opinion, because I think that she's boring. I feel like she looks for a reason to argue with anybody. Toya is being messy as usual, but that's it. Like I would probably add Mariah in as the seventh main cast member because Married to Medicine seemed to like always anchored on seven people on the show. It would always be like two wives. If I'm not mistaken, it would be like two wives and like maybe five people who are in the medical field. I think I don't know, but anyways, I feel like Mariah should come back. I think it's time for Mariah to come back. It's long overdue. Nene came back. They say that Kenya can come back. Kenya just ain't coming back right now because of legal issues. She said, allegedly. But I think that it's time for Mariah to come back. This season of Married to Medicine is good. I do want to start talking about Married to Medicine, but we'll see. But I think that Married to Medicine is a great show. I think that y'all should watch it. Y'all should definitely tune in. I think last season